John in Virginia, Republican. Let's hear from you.
Well, this is John Barron, and this is the worst decision you ever have in your life, practically. Jack's going to agree with me, right? But this is a terrible decision. And you have Hakeem Jeffries, he's a dope, and you have Chuck Schumer, who can't cook a cheeseburger. Of course these people are happy. But true Americans will not be happy.
What's up, everybody? Major retired Richard Ojeda here. And a C-SPAN caller had a delusional meltdown live on TV after the Supreme Court shut down Donald Trump's tariffs. It's because Trump just lost a major ruling that shook him to the core. And cult members can't handle the fact that the courts aren't playing along.
And you have the woman earlier, I assume she's a woman, she's a Democrat, but she said she's disgraced. She's devastated.
All right,
by
John.
this.
We'll go to Chester, who's in Baton Rouge, Louisiana.
John in Virginia, Republican, except he introduces himself as John Barron. Sounds familiar, right?
The real amazing story of Donald Trump's old spokesman, as the Washington Post headline writes, may be that it's been such an open secret for so long, it's hard to believe that anyone is still questioning it.
There's a former Forbes investigative journalist revealing new audio tapes from the 1980s. He says they feature Trump calling him and lying about his wealth, part of an effort to land a spot on the coveted Forbes 400 richest list. But the kicker, Trump doing it with a fake identity. You may have heard about this. He pretends to be a Trump representative named John Barron.
Okay, what's your first name, Danny? John Barron. Most of the assets have been consolidated to Mr. Trump, because you have down Fred Trump. But I think you can really use Donald Trump now, and you can just consolidate. Are you saying that perhaps for tax purposes the ownership has been transferred to Donald Trump? Correct. That's correct.
The newspaper reports it was common knowledge among New York reporters that Trump just assumed a different name and handled the media calls himself.
Trump's entire business empire and reputation as a successful businessman is based upon deception. To the extent, and in a way, it's sort of unbelievable until you hear it with your own ears. So when I unearthed these audio tapes that I had, in my storage for 35 years, and looked at them, I saw John Barron, VP of Finance, 1984, for the Forbes Rich List, and I was like, wait a minute. And then I listened to them, and I realized between that and the other interviews I had done with Donald himself in 82 and 83, acting as Donald Trump, and all the subsequent information, how intricate the fraud of his net worth was, and also how instead of $100 million, which I put him down for in 1982, he was actually worth $5 million at that time.
John in Virginia, Republican. Let's hear from you.
Well, this is John Barron, and this is the worst decision you ever have in your life, practically.
That's the alias Trump used back in the 80s and 90s to plant stories in the press. So already you're thinking, is this satire? Is this a troll? Is this one of those bot-brained culture warriors who can't accept reality? But what does John Barron do with his 15 seconds on live television? Does he explain the legal flaw in the tariffs? Does he outline why the Supreme Court got it wrong? Does he defend the economic logic? Nope. He calls Hakeem Jeffries a dope. He says Chuck Schumer can't cook a cheeseburger. He rants about true Americans being unhappy. That's it. 32 seconds later, plug pulled. All right, John. Boop. Flatline.
She's devastated.
All right,
by
John.
this.
We'll go to Chester, who's in Baton Rouge, Louisiana.
But here's why it matters. This isn't about one unhinged caller. This is what happens when a movement built on grievance and conspiracy cannot process being wrong. Because this ruling isn't isolated. Farmers are furious. Trade retaliation crushed exports. Markets shifted to Brazil and Argentina. Costs are up. Programs are frozen. Even Fox News is admitting Trump's policies are hurting farmers. But instead of reflection, you get escalation. Instead of maybe we miscalculated, you get Hakeem Jeffries is a dope. Talk about childish and unable to cope. This guy is the poster child for Trump derangement syndrome. You get these folks in a room, let them start talking, and you don't even bring up politics. Don't worry, they will. They're excited to share the latest conspiracy. Fluoride, vaccines, aliens, some new angle about the Trump secretly winning 4D chess. And when you calmly introduce reality, they react like you insulted their family. Because Trump isn't just a politician to them. He's identity. So when the Supreme Court says no, it's not the court interpreted the law differently, it's humiliation. And humiliation, it triggers rage. That's how you get a grown adult using a decades-old Trump alias to scream into C-SPAN like it's AM radio. That's how you get people insisting they're winning while farmers in their own counties are calling it trade war a man-made crisis. That's how owning the libs turned into self-inflicted economic damage. They've cut off their nose to spite their face, and they can't even see it. And maybe that alias choice wasn't random at all. John Barron, the old mythic Trump, the spin doctor, the guy who never loses, the fantasy version who always wins, but reality doesn't care about your nostalgia. Reality is Supreme Court rulings. Reality is collapsing export markets. Reality is rising costs. Reality is 32 seconds on C-SPAN before the host says, "All right, John," and cuts the mic. And honestly, that's the perfect metaphor for this entire movement. They can scream, they can insult, they can double down, but eventually the mic gets cut. And this time, it's not just a phone call, because this isn't just about one caller embarrassing himself on public television. It's about a movement that refuses to admit when it's wrong, even when the courts say so, even when markets say so, even when farmers in their own counties say so. Instead of recalculating, they attack and they double down. The Supreme Court doesn't care about your feelings. Markets don't care about your memes. And reality doesn't care about your slogans. You can scream, "We're winning." You can call people dopes. You can hide behind fake aliases. But when policy collapses and ego replaces evidence, consequences follow. And judging by Trump's approval ratings, the mic isn't just getting cut on Trump's lunatics on C-SPAN. It's getting cut on Republicans running in the November midterms. And what about this John Barron guy? Do you think it was Trump himself? Inquiring minds want to know, and that's a fact. Sappers clear the way, airborne all the way.
Did you know that the big wireless carriers like Verizon and AT&T made over $18 billion in profit last year? How? By overcharging you for unlimited data, most of which you probably aren't even using. But what if you could get paid to use your phone less and only pay for the data you do use? Well, with Noble Mobile, you can. For just $50 a month on their No Bull plan, you get unlimited data, and whatever data you don't use, you get cash back right in your pocket. People who switch to Noble can save an average of $500 to $1,000 a year. It's a no-brainer. And by switching to Noble, you're directly supporting TYT and our mission of bringing you honest, independent news. So give Noble a try and make the switch today. Scan the QR code on the screen now or visit go.tyt.com/plan. That's go.tyt.com/plan.